Hi everybody, High Lord Tamerlane here with another Obscurity in Miniature. Today we're going to look at the Frostgrave Ghost Archipelago Crewmen. So this was the first plastic box that Northstar Miniatures in conjunction with Osprey put out for the Ghost Archipelago sub-game, I guess you could call it, or sister game of Frostgrave. They're very similar, but this is a nice little set because it is completely compatible with all of the plastic figures that Northstar has released so far for Frostgrave. So very cool. Inside each box you're going to get 20 figures and little bases to go with them, but we're not interested in boxes, are we folks? No, we're not. So let's take a closer look at what we actually get in there. Inside each box you're going to get 2 of these. These would be the bases, obviously. Like I said, they're kind of flat compared to the GW industry standard, and you're going to get 4 sets of these sprues. These are the actual miniature sprues. So you can see they're very similar to the current Frostgrave figures, at least the humans. The snake men don't really work as well. The gnolls kind of, you can get away with it, but again, they've got very distinctly sailor-like bodies, very Sinbad, Seventh Voyage of Sinbad style. You have a nice cross-section of melee weapons. You've got all kinds of, scimitars, straight swords, wooden clubs, axes, hatchets, spears. And then we've got a couple ranged items as well with a hand crossbow and some bow and arrows on there. And I believe there's some throwing axes. My favorite is you got a little flask, because who doesn't want a little drunken sailor, right? Interesting head choices. I think a lot of these heads you could probably squeeze onto a Frostgrave guy. They're very hairy, for lack of a better term. And if you're not familiar with the Frostgrave Soldier models, these are completely compatible with them. Everything fits. Everything can just, you can kitbash to your heart's desire. So what do the figures actually look like? Well, I'll show you because I already built some. So these are just a couple of random swashbuckling sailors that I hastily put together. And obviously they're going to need to get some cleaning done. Basically, you've got your arms, your head, and then any extra bits that you end up gluing on. A very, Sinbad-like sailor. And again, I know I'm going to clean these up before they get any kind of paint. A random archer with his fishing hat. Cravat. And my hatchet man, because why not? Whose hand broke and seems to have glued on crooked after I reset it. But, oh well, it's okay. And lastly, we got my drunk with a club and a bottle and a backpack. Very exciting. Well, he did have a bottle and now it's gone. Great. At least we found it. So, how do these figures actually stack up with other figures? And I don't know if you're all familiar with the Frostgrave model line. So I got, here's a typical Frostgrave Soldier. And again, you can see there's a bit of similarities if I could actually get it in focus. That might help if I get them out of the way. Oh my goodness. There we go, finally. So, again, they've got their fair share of rags that they are draped in. So we'll put him with the other guys in just a sec. We have the cultists, which were quite a cool kit. Another basic soldier. And my favorites were the barbarians, and this was a special head that was included with Kickstarter, Nickstarter thing when they released those guys. So let's see how our crewmen look in comparison. So obviously, I mean, they're going to blend in really well size-wise, provided we actually mount them on the same basis. And I mean, in a nice rabbly lot, you wouldn't really notice much of a difference, right? Problem is when you start getting other figures. Now look, there's a good old-fashioned GW figure, regular sized human, and, well, I guess he's suffering from some dwarfism because he's not, okay. They are a little bit smaller than a typical GW human. Now that's an older GW human. What if we have a newer GW human? Let's see how they look in comparison. Again, they're going to be a little bit smaller. The problem really becomes apparent when you start looking at other figures out there on the market. So like if I have like Shadows of Brimstone stuff, I mean, they're barely going up to his chest. If I grab a Wild West Exodus figure, for example, I mean, they're at his waist. That's just crazy. They are a little on the smaller side, so just be aware of that if that's what you're looking for. I mean, the one nice thing, I guess, about the smaller figures like this is they do kit bash very well with a lot of the plastic historical figures. I've had a lot of success mixing and matching with things from FireForge, from Perry. Limited success using some of the old War Games Factory, Samurai, and other bits that got scooped up by Warlord. But, you know, that is one advantage. If you really want to go wild with these, you're more than capable of it without having to do extensive remodeling of figures because, you know, the historical stuff tends to actually err more towards the 25mm side of things rather than like the 32mm stuff like our Base Reeves Marshall there. So, with that said, they are quite cool kits. If you're looking for just generic fantasy dudes, you know, I mean, there are some high fantasy elements, I'd say, or maybe just how they're dressed and in their appearance. The actual figures aren't super fantastical, but, you know, you can mix them up well with the Shield Wolf weapons, if you get some of the Shield Wolf Shield Maidens or Sisters. I mean, it's just really is whatever your heart desires and what you're capable of in terms of converting and bashing together. But there are now tribal warriors coming, and we've got plastic wizards coming as well. So that's going to be what? How many kits do we have now? We've got the regular soldiers, the female soldiers, the barbarians, the gnolls, the cultists, the snake men, the tribal warriors, and the wizards. That'll be 8 kits, plus there's the stuff for Oathmark, which is the other line that Northstar and Osprey are making together. And I don't really have any of that stuff to see how they compare, but that's more a mass battle game, whereas this is more a individualized skirmish set of figures. So, but I bet there's still crossover potential there. Overall, I've been a big fan of the line. We've enjoyed the game, but we're kind of at the point where we are coming up with even stranger and stranger figures whenever we play to make our war bands with. So sadly, our actual Frostgrave figures don't seem to get as much use these days. But we're crazy and weird, and, you know, I think that at this point I've been using Samurai, and before that it was Crocodile Men, so what do I know? Anyway, overall, cool model kits. There's lots of conversion potential, lots of extra bits when you're done with them. Perfect for games like Mordheim as well. Very fun, and they're reasonably priced. They run about $35 or so for 20 figures with lots of extra bits, so you can't really go wrong there. Again, these are the Frostgrave Ghost Archipelago Crewmen, and I am High Lord Tamberlane, and these are my obscurities and miniatures, and they will all say bye-bye.